last, but also the best time that we have to make peace. The last crucial peace that we have to make with our neighbors, this is the peace with the Palestinians. I think, and I know that this opinion is shared by many in the defense establishment in Israel, that in the last 65 years, since the proclamation of the State of Israel, there never was a time in which Israel was in a better security shape than we are now. From a strategic point of view, the dangers that Israel faces today are smaller and are more manageable than ever before. When we look at the immediate surrounding of the State of Israel, and the neighboring countries, the traditional enemies of Israel, the ones we looked at with a certain degree of fear, are not potential players in any possible attack that can jeopardize the existence of the State of Israel. Look at Syria. Maybe we'll come back to it later. I don't know whether Assad will remain in power. I don't know whether he will be replaced. I don't know if he will be replaced, who will replace it. I don't know who amongst the different forces that are now fighting against Assad will be the one that will take over, and what his general attitude will be. I don't know. I know one thing. Neither he nor the possible future leaders of Syria will have the power, the capacity, the energy, and the resources to fight with the State of Israel for the foreseeable future. I hear all these talks lately about dangers in Syria. I think it's grossly exaggerated. And the first to know it are the Syrians. Therefore, I don't think, not that we don't have to look carefully at what happens in Syria, should we have to. Not that we don't have to be prepared for any eventuality that will surprise us. We have to be very careful and look closely at every point in Syria, and we had to do it in the past, and sometimes we were surprised and we had to take actions, not necessarily talking about it publicly, but taking important actions in order to remove dangers that may have come from Syria. But when I look at Syria today, I know that Syria is not a strategic threat on the State of Israel. Certainly not Egypt. We have formal peace with Egypt. We could have better relations with Egypt. Unfortunately, presently, with the Muslim Brothers leadership, it may take more time to find a new basis that will be established between us and them that will improve the daily contact between the two governments. But I think the Egyptians are very careful not to cross a line which may be dangerous, first for them, because they understand one thing which sometimes when you come to power you understand, and when you are in opposition, in a entirely non-democratic country you may not understand, that the responsibility for feeding 80 million people every day is far more important than entering into adventures that might end up with a terrible disaster for your own people in your own country. And therefore, Egypt is certainly not in the picture for any development that may jeopardize the security and the strategic interest of the State of Israel. So where is the danger? There is one danger, Iran. Iran is a danger not to Israel alone. I was involved in dealing with this issue for almost 10 years in different capacities, when I was a member of the cabinet of Sharon, and then when I became prime minister myself. I think I'm familiar with the basic facts just as much as anyone else, any place. I remember that in 2003, when I was a member of the select committee of ministers in the cabinet of Sharon that dealt with Iran directly on a daily basis, we were advised by the top experts that by the year 2008, the latest 2009, no question that Iran will possess nuclear power. Well, we are now in the middle of 2013. They still don't possess it. I think that we have to very carefully look at it. I think that we have to take measures in order to prevent it. I think that we did take measures that were very harmful to the nuclear plans of Iran over the last few years, and I'm very proud that the government that I was leading was very active in many different ways that obviously are not to be discussed in details publicly, that certainly did not help the nuclear program of Iran, and I think that we were assisted by friendly nations, primarily by the United States of America, which for no good reason was blamed for not doing anything, which is not true. But I think, and I said it then, and I still think...
I am appalled that the Wilson Center would host a war criminal such as yourself, who would be sure that the international community will hold you accountable for your work. What? In solidarity with the Palestinians, all of you should be appalled for sitting and listening to this war criminal such as himself. The only threat to Israel is Israel in itself. You're pushing the line farther and farther.
Well, I always wonder, these guys that heckle me sometimes in these meetings, they don't remember that I'm a graduate of the Israeli Knesset. When someone has been 9 terms in the Israeli Knesset, do you think that one heckler can shake him off? I mean, let's take it seriously. We come from a democracy where such voices... Why did he leave? He should have stayed. Tell him that he can come back. I will not hold it against him. Anyway, I think that Iran is a problem. It's a serious problem. It's a serious problem for many countries. And this issue, as I used to say time and again when I was Prime Minister, must be led by the United States of America and other major powers in the world, because if Iran, hopefully not, and I'm certain it will not, reach the point where they possess nuclear power, it can change entirely not just the balance, but the stability, not only in our region, but maybe much further, and it can create turbulence and force other nations to possess nuclear powers, and this can create a danger. And I'm not certain that President Obama wants that the legacy that will be left after his second term as President of the United States will be a nuclear Iran. And therefore, while we have to see how America will react to this in the future and what the measures that America will take with others in order to realize what the President made as a commitment, but it still echoes in my ears what President Obama said, what Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel said, what Secretary of State John Kerry said: Iran will not be nuclear. When the President and the two of the most powerful and important secretaries of the United States say in no unclear terms, in the most explicit manner, that Iran will not be nuclear, I assume that they know what they are talking about, and I take very seriously the impact of their commitment as the leaders of the Western world and the ones that ought to lead this campaign against Iran. Therefore, I made all these preliminary comments about the dangers basically to say that indeed I share entirely the analysis made by Secretary Kerry yesterday night when he said that this is the best time and maybe the last time for the State of Israel to engage in a serious dialogue in order to achieve peace with the Palestinians.
I am not violently resisting your occupation. This is what Twas and the rest of the American people think of your peace process. To hell with you and your occupation. Free my people and free Palestine. We will never be silenced.
He doesn't look like a Palestinian.
I'm Palestinian, I belong there.
he looks
and I will
like-
never be gone.
He looks like an American, that's fine. Even Americans are allowed to protest, that's all right. We have some Israelis who do it the same way. But I think that this is the right time. There can be no better time. This is not only the right time, this is possibly, as Senator Kerry, Secretary Kerry said last night, may prove to be the last time that we can make an agreement with the Palestinians, and therefore I hope that both sides will take serious measures in order to participate in this process, and that the Americans and the American administration will move all the forces that are needed in order to support such a process between us and the Palestinians in the very near future. Thank you very much.
You are wanted in several countries, and many of you do not know that. This doesn't even explain his war crimes, okay? Look into it. You're a murderer. Shame on Woodrow Wilson for inviting a war criminal. This is disgusting.
$1,400 people were killed in Operation Cast Lead. My former partner was there. It was her job to collect the bodies. She was working for the American Red Cross. She saw Israeli soldiers playing soccer with the head of a 2-year-old child.
Let him finish.
She found a woman's body with maggots crawling out of the bullet holes. You could have prevented this. You could have prevented this. You're a murderer. You talk about peace. You could have prevented this.
You have no right to touch me.
You could have prevented the death of 1,400 Palestinians during Operation Cast
I'd like to
Lead.
request that law enforcement move down to the front here. I'd also like to repeat that the Wilson Center is proud of inviting people to express a broad cross-section of views. As the president and CEO of the Wilson Center, I defend that process. I also
Israelis are pissed off with me because they don't share necessarily the opinion of Jane Herman that what I did in order to close the gap and make peace between Israel and the Palestinians, offering the most far-reaching concessions that Israel has ever offered in the history of the State of Israel, that it was good. They thought that I was betraying the principles of Israel. Now these guys come and say that I'm a war criminal. For many Israelis, may restore some of my reputation. So you guys, think about it. That's what you want.
I really do want to get to questions for our guests, but I want to drill down in 3 areas, and let's start with the peace issue. If you look at the history of peacemaking on